Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Chelsea. I serve as the program manager for the Region 10 Opioid Abatement Council, referred to as Gateway to the Rockies, or GROC. This is our August Advisory Committee meeting. Let's go ahead and just do introductions. If you want to do your name and where you're from. We'll start with Linda. Oh, now you're muted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what the heck's going on here. Okay, anyway, hi, I'm Linda from Just Living Recovery in Lakewood.
Erica.
Hi, Erica Haig, Board Director for Resilience 1220 in Evergreen.
Annette.
Hi, this is Annette Cannon of the Jefferson County Coroner. Nice to meet everyone.
Hey everyone, Sean Henley. I'm with Red Rock Recovery Center.
Amber.
Good morning, all. Amber Courtier, she, her pronouns, with Common Spirit Health Mountain Region, Behavioral Health Initiative Team, so Jefferson County, St. Anthony Hospital.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So as a reminder, the advisory group previews the executive committee agenda, providing commentary on all of the agenda items, and then they make recommendations, not votes, that get carried over into the executive committee and full council. So first order of business, I'm putting this first because I've forgotten it at the last meeting. The executive committee approved the Jeffco Public Health budget for phase 2 at the July 13th meeting, and we had 6 pairs of eyeballs, so 12 eyeballs total, and we forgot a line item, the van retrofit. It is a capital line item. This was approved for $100,000 in phase 1. They did not expense it in phase 1. They had tend to expense it in Q2, which was supposed to be the start of phase 2. We were about a month late due to some presentations. So that does increase the total award amount to $1,599,391.83. What was approved was just $80,000 less at the July 13th meeting. Questions, comments, concerns? Floor open for a recommendation.
So the additional funds are a van retrofit. That's what you're what you're saying.
$80,000 more dollars. And it's not really a new line item. It was approved in phase 1. It just got taken off the budget when they were redoing it. So we need to put it back on.
Do you know specifically what it is? I'm just curious.
They had purchased a van to do mobile outreach for harm reduction supplies. And they ended up buying the van before the award was contracted. And so they asked if they could use that money to retrofit the van. So redesign it so it was more suitable to do harm reduction supply outreach and not have like seats in it. Approve, not approve.
And I'm assuming they've got like that's just seems like a lot to pull seats out of a van, but I assume that they are basing that off of some bids they got. So if that's the case, then
yeah, it's also like wrapping the van. What else did it include? I can get more specifics. They had originally budgeted $100,000. That's what was approved in phase 1. But then based on the actual what they spent, it was only $80,000.
So basically, this is money that was already approved previously. Now it's just a matter of changing it to the second phase, is what you're saying.
Kind of. $100,000 was approved in phase 1. But then when they redid the budget for phase 2, they took that line item off. And so it's like they didn't need it anymore, but they do still need it. So we're putting it back on.
It makes sense to me. I mean, again, with what Sean said, making sure that they have, they've actually done like some sort of RFP process to make sure that, you know, it's a legitimate number, then that makes sense to me.
Yes, they did all of that. My understanding is that the work is complete because they bill quarterly, and their last quarterly invoice was due July 20th. But again, because of administrative delays at my direction, that invoice is a little bit later. And so we do hope that they bring that van to the summit. That way people can see it, engage with it. I can get pictures for the next meeting. And then they do have to submit an itemized receipt with their expense report.
I recommend that we fund it.
Thank you.
I agree with that too.
My question in chat was just a curiosity. Working with multiple RORACs, does GROC require procurement for these kind of projects?
We haven't needed to. There's like oversight and management, micromanagement, right? And so we haven't seen the need to get involved at that level yet.
Linda, I think if you could turn on your mute while you're not talking, for some reason it's causing an echo.
No, that makes sense, Dr. Chelsea. I just know how widely different prices can come in for these kind of things. So that was kind of echoing the question earlier, which was, did they get quotes, or assuming they got quotes? But then my curiosity was whether or not, just to be fair to across all recipients, if there is the requirement of procurement for these kind of expenses. Just to be, you know, good stewards of dollars and
Yeah.
get your best value.
Yeah, I think in the long term, it's good. Like, we should consider that. We just haven't had a need to do that yet. But I did make that a note, and I will carry that forward. Maybe that's something that we do include in the next general fund. Renewal scoring is underway, and that will have group discussion on the August 24th meeting. So that is just the voting members for that. We will do applications around November, December for advisory committee members and community members to be application reviewers in the general fund. So stay tuned for that. We do have the state conference on September 30th in Copper Mountain. I did send everybody an email yesterday. Registration is open, attendance is free. Make sure you do that. Because it is in Copper Mountain, which is about 90 minutes away from Jefferson County. Is the council interested in supporting travel? I, for one, will not be staying the night. I will drive up and drive back. Do we want to cover mileage for people? Do we want to set like a budget or a number? I know Commissioner Hollingsworth has been vocal about not using GROC dollars for that, but that's just one opinion.
I think mileage reimbursement is nice. The federal rate, I just had to refresh, is 76 cents per mile. But yeah, I guess for most folks in that area are a majority going to be traveling, right?
Yeah, driving. So there
lodging.
Yeah, I don't know about lodging.
I looked into the lodging. It's about $200 a night for conference participants.
There might be an option to get a van from Jefferson County. And so we could carpool a couple of people.
I
Do we
think
want to
that
set this at like a budget or like 10 people?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think the mileage reimbursement is nice, but I think you need to consider like what extent, like to what people would you be offering that reimbursement to? Obviously not to awardees or anything like that. Are you talking about advisory committee and you know the normal GROC council? Like to what extent are you talking about reimbursement?
I don't know, I'm asking you guys.
Yeah, I would consider capping it to the people who are directly, you know, tied to the council. And I don't think that reimbursing for lodging, in my mind, I don't think that is a good idea because you're talking about you're 90 minutes away doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal to do in one day. To me, if it were more than 2 hours away, then that might be something to talk about. But the distance doesn't seem to warrant an overnight stay in my mind.
All right, we don't need a decision. Oh yeah, we kind of do need a decision now because that's next month. So I guess I'll get an interest of at the August meeting of how many people are interested in going and seeking mileage reimbursement, and then try to come up with a calculation. Because that would have to get approved at the August meeting. Is anyone here interested in mileage reimbursement?
I would be, to be fully transparent. I just looked to see because I hadn't looked at the map yet. It's exactly 2 hours for me, 1 hour, 57 minutes. But I'm regional. I've been trying to find someone more local at St. Anthony to attend because I live up in like the Loveland area. That's where I reside, but my service area is regional. So Colorado, Utah, Kansas. So I wouldn't necessarily like bend the rules or bend over backwards for me. But to answer that question, yes, if I were to attend, that would be welcomed. But again, I'm trying to recruit someone closer.
I'd be interested too, Chelsea.
Okay.
I just calculated mileage just out of curiosity to see. So the cost is about $120 a day for mileage. That's from Arvada. I was measuring from Arvada to Copper. So it's something to think about. You know what I mean? Like, because it's 80 miles at the rate, using the federal rate there. So I don't know. It's just something to think about. Is it better to stay a night? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Wait, is it multiple days or just 1 day?
It's just 1 day.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think like I've done a Colorado Springs 2 hour, drive south and then 2 hours back. It's a full day, but it's doable. So I don't know if lodging is entirely necessary or reimbursement of lodging from that logic.
I've already signed up to go, but I don't need to do reimbursement for travel.
All right. In the interest of time, I will go ahead and take this to the executive committee and get a vote on that. We need clarity on the voting member process for the municipal courts rep. This is a 2-year rotating position. The IGA is very vague, and I have no historical documents of how Kristen Heath was appointed to this position. The IGA says each commissioner nominates an individual, and then the 3 commissioners meet and they confirm who they want it to be and notify the fiscal agent. That's it. Kate Newman provided some valuable insight and a suggestion for how this rotating person is picked, is that the Jeffco Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee would play a role in nominating this position. They would provide a written recommendation to Sarah Rodis. Oh, that's not how you spell her name. Sarah Broadus, who is the executive assistant to the Jeffco Board of County Commissioners. She would brief the Jeffco BCC and then send that letter of recommendation to the Gilpin County BCC. Because Gilpin is also represented through the first judicial members of the CJCC, so they have a lot of overlap there. And then Clear Creek is not in the first judicial district, but their courts are in Summit County, which Kate doesn't think would represent Clear Creek very well. And so Clear Creek can decide to either agree with this nomination process, or they can nominate their own representative that maybe is like an every third year. So it would be this like Jeffco Gilpin, who shared the first judicial from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. They would have a 2-year appointment, and then it would be a Clear Creek rep, and then it would be the Jeffco Gilpin, and then the Clear Creek rep. Any thoughts on that? I know that's really a commissioner question. Okay, moving forward. Finalize summit planning. We are looking at 103, so 93 RSVPs. And then I did have 10 support staff. So we're looking at 103 individuals, which is perfect. I wanted to cap the summit at 150. The summit is still an open meeting, so the public can still attend. They just cannot engage in the breakout group. That is limited to the invite only people. I know the county commissioners also wanted to invite, we have 2 out of the 3 county commissioners invited, so they wanted to invite the third one. So this might hit like 106. The final counts are right here. We have 15 people from Clear Creek, 18 people from, oh, this is 18 and this is 58. 58 from Jefferson and 18 from Gilpin. There are 2 individuals who kind of cross all 3 county lines. We have 22 people for prevention, 14 people for harm reduction, 19 for treatment, 19 recovery, 19 for planning and coordination. And then we have 11 voting members, 8 alternates, 8 advisory committee, 24 grantees, 10 participating local governments. This makes me so happy. And then 32 from the broader community. I am asking that I'm going to make this 4,700 is what I'm going to ask the council to approve in funding. Some of these numbers do have to get adjusted. I'll probably keep coffee the same. I'll probably keep breakfast the same. Jason's Deli, I don't think we'll need 150. I'll probably make this 115. So this will go down a little bit. I could probably do a few less drinks. This is a total estimate. Like I was shopping at Costco and was like, okay, that's like $15 for that case of soda. And then the badges and lanyards, I just prospected something on Amazon. It was like 2 100 packs, but if we only have like 115, I can try to find a smaller pack there. And then we were going to do the tote bags from Elevated Impressions, which is a Gilpin County printing company owned by a couple who's in recovery from opioid misuse. So directly related to opioid settlement going back into our community. It's the same if we get 99 or if we get 100. So I'll probably just do a couple extra bags to see. I'll work with her, but I am going to ask for 4,700 just to be safe. We'll keep it under, my goal was to keep it under 5,000. Amber asked a question in the chat. Is registration still open for confirming a guest? I believe I added a +1, but I haven't provided their info. Yes, Amber, I have you as a placeholder. So you're fine. I won't need the name until next month, but I do have 2 people for you. Questions, comments, concerns, recommendation to approve the budget.
I can make a motion. I'm not like, I don't think I'm formally a voting member, so I didn't know how Chelsea,
You
Dr.
are
Chelsea
an advisory
in
member,
this
so you
format of
make
this
the
group, if it matters.
Yeah, you make everyone in this room is qualified to
Make a recommendation. Okay,
recommendation.
I advance the recommendation to approve the budget then.
I would second that.
Thank you. Any other questions about this? I did not provide the breakout worksheets. I will show you those next month. Okay. Grantee budget amendment request. Recovery Works is the first one. They are experiencing an influx of clients for the MAT specific rooms. That's the All Roads Recovery Program, currently funded by GROC. And so they did add a line item for rental assistance, and they added a line item for repairs and room maintenance. They did lose funding, both of which are currently coming out of just their general reserve funding. They lost funding for their current 0.25 FTE behavioral health director, and they are seeking to repost the position as a 1 FTE. And so this would increase their budget by $107,000, $107,642.85. So those changes are highlighted in red.
What's the difference? What's the amount increase?
So they're currently approved for 570,735. The new total would be 678,377. So the difference is $107,642. Most of that is coming from that behavioral health director position. That was 0.25 FTE, and they want to make it a 1 FTE. Who would be a certified addiction specialist.
All of these changes for them are obviously important and needed, but I wonder about what precedents we have to award somebody something and then they're asking for more. And instead of making that be part of the next RFP, or do you know what I mean? Like, do we have a precedence about increasing
think of a budget amendment is that it's just a change to the numbers. It's not a change in a scope of work. It doesn't require drafting a whole new contract exhibit A. It's just revising their budget. So that to me is a budget amendment.
I'm more curious what the input. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I would say, to me, a budget amendment is when you're changing things around within what you've been awarded. You know what I mean? Like choosing to not spend on something and spending more on something else, but to add if I'm not understanding this correctly, we're asking for $107,000 more. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Amendment usually means like moving things around from existing line items to, get to the balance that was initially awarded. So I wasn't sure where the line is drawn of asking for additional funds, if that needs to be at the next upcoming RFP cycle. My other question was like how they're calculating that total. How is it being justified? They're saying an influx, an increase in clients, but have they provided like data or anything that demonstrates volume? And does that volume then align with that FTE? It sounds like is what's primarily the expense increase.
Um,
Dr. Chelsea, has the council approved an increase before?
yeah,
Or is this a unique situation? Okay, and it was treated
no,
as a contract amendment, not a requirement to apply through a RFP?
correct. So,
Okay.
they have met their original contracted outcomes in the first 9 months of the grant period. So what they said they were going to do in 24 months, they did in 9 months. That's where this need is coming from. The GROC approved Resilience 1220 for a budget increase because shortly after they were awarded and they signed their contract, there was the shooting at Evergreen, and they had an influx of therapy intakes. So they essentially met their contract goals like in the first month of their contract. So they asked for additional funds. I think it was like double the line item of intake, so that they could continue to meet the contract goals and not expire their contract in the first month because they already met that. And the council saw that as a relevant need and justification for a budget amendment. You also have a right to say you would like to see their first 3 quarters of their evaluation data before you can make a decision on this.
I would agree with that, what Amber was saying, that it seems like a very large jump to go from 0.25 to 1 full FTE. And so I think the justification behind that move would be important for the council to review.
I was a little concerned too, and maybe this is me like reading between the lines, but are they subplanting? It sounds like they lost funding from one source and now looking for this to fill the position, which then gets in the kind of tricky, sticky territory of supplanting. Or am I wrong?
No,
I feel like I understand the definition of that term, but sometimes to actually apply it and understand where it's like building capacity and expanding
yeah.
because of demand, like then maybe that's not truly supplanting.
No, you're right to question that. It's a very gray area. How I understood the conversation was because right now they have 3 rooms dedicated to the MAT program, and because of their wait list and high referrals, they want to expand that into 6 rooms. And so they do need a full-time behavioral health director to cover all 6 rooms. Where before when they just had the 3 rooms, they just needed that 0.25 person. The funding for that person, the other 0.75 of that person is now gone. And so the new behavioral health director would just be dedicated to these 6 rooms. But we do have a subplantation budget template that we can have them fill out and bring back to the council with their first 3 quarters of evaluation reports. I think all that is fair.
I think
So
that's
again,
entirely reasonable, yes, to ask for that kind of increase. Yeah, agreed.
perfect. So I will tell the executive committee this is kind of what the advisory group would like to see. If they agree with it, then we will bring the budget back in September with all of this information. In the interest of time, I'll go on to Lakewood Police Department. They did not bill in Q1 because a large part of their program is dependent on hiring, which is really difficult for a clinical co-responder. So they did not bill in Q1. They are requesting to reallocate funds across line items. In their initial budget, they had personnel as a single line item. I did ask them to break it up so they have like clinician 1 and clinician 2. This is just so much easier to track if they have a staff change, and if they're in different pay grades. So that split requires executive committee approval. They did have a change in staff salary due to the city job classification from the time they did the application 1 year later when they did the actual hiring. That makes sense. That is aligned. And then they are requesting a 0 additional cost extension by Q1. So this is not asking for any additional money. They are just moving money between line items. These lines 15 and 16 used to be clumped together. They were split apart. There was an increase in the salary. So this would just be really just like 3/4. And then this would be the 4/4. And they had a little extra. So they'll go into Q1 with that extension. This had a change here. This had a change here. I think money was moved into this line item.
Are they requesting just wages and they're not doing any fringe offset then? So the expense that you're seeing is collectively like
No,
salary?
it includes fringe.
Oh, and fringe. There it says. Sorry, wasn't
Yeah,
seeing that in
that's
the
okay.
cutout. It is a
And then they
hard
have a little
position to
narrative.
fill for. I know that for certain. So yeah, it's reasonable to have this delay or understandable that they had this delay in rollout. I have no issue with it just being that they're on a delayed timeline to start to implement, and now they're needing to reallocate to get to balance by the end of the year. I have no concern.
I agree with Grace for whatever it's worth.
Same.
Okay. JCMH Soteria, this was a $2.5 million capital award through GROC special projects in early 2026. The organization can no longer meet funding requirements and will no longer be pursuing the Soteria Landing campus. So we do have a couple of options. There is an option. They are requesting to reallocate the award, and they have 2 potential project options in mind. But the council also has an option to rescind or cancel the award, especially since the contract has not yet been signed.
Would that reopen it to the next open RFP cycle then, if just to
Yes.
resend, and then they could
Yeah.
reapply
Yes.
for
So
whatever? I wasn't sure if there's a certain category this was on. Well, hold on, just to clarify, Dr. Chelsea, this wasn't COAC dollars for capital. This was the
this
GROC.
was GROC money.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I just in full transparency, when I saw this proposal initially come through, I had concerns that it wasn't gonna pan out. But that's just my just knowing how these kind of projects tend to go. Did they elaborate more of what they're considering if these were to instead be reallocated? They're still a recipient, but something different, repurposed?
Yes. So they gave 2 options in the meeting materials packet that I re-forwarded at 11 a.m. The Youth Recovery Capacity Expansion Initiative. Youth Recovery is one of only 2 facilities in the state. And then the other one is a Recovery Access Fund. This is really concerning to me and we talked about this in our last advisory committee meeting, is how do we ensure that scholarships for individuals to supplement Medicaid uninsured are going to Region 10 recipients? How do we make sure that they're going to the nexus of opioid use and not something else? That would require what I'm going to use Commissioner Hollingsworth's language is that's an invasion in someone's medical history. And then who would review that information? Peggy previously stated that's not a good use of my time. I agree. I don't think it should be me. We have an option of creating some type of a subcommittee to do that. I think this idea of individual scholarship, and everybody needs this. Like, I'm going to use Sean in the room. Amber, I'm sure you could speak to this as well. Both of your organizations need scholarships. So this to me is not unique. This is an everybody issue.
Right, correct. Yeah, there's some regulatory compliance hurdles.
Yeah.
My concerns about this is that initially this was awarded as a like you said, as a special project. It was sort of outside of the general RFP process or whatever. It was they applied, and then it was recommended that it be reconsidered, even though it wasn't funded in the original funding. And so it got special consideration in the beginning because of what it was. And so it seems to me that because they've now canceled, they're pursuing this Soteria land and campus, that it cancels everything. I mean, they don't get an opportunity to change it to ask for something else, because that doesn't seem, it seems like considering to give somebody special consideration. I guess it might be clear about what I'm saying here.
No,
That they got
I
special
completely
consideration
agree, Linda.
for
Completely.
specifically that project. So
I completely agree, Linda.
need
So
to
I'll
just
second
start
that.
it.
I think it should be released through a new RFP upcoming cycle. I think it needs to go through the channels of review, just like any other project. This is too much of a pivot, too big of a change, and too much of a balance award amount to just repurpose. So I agree.
I agree. I am definitely against reallocating that award. I think about the RFP process that we went through and how much we dove into each award and what people were asking for, and to just reallocate it, according to kind of what they see fit, I think goes against everything that we have done in prior RFP situation. So I really think that the council should rescind or cancel the award and put it back into an RFP that can be considered in the future.
And they, of course, are welcome to apply.
Yep.
Like
and I mean, JCMH, they have to ask, right? Because we don't have a policy that you can't reallocate.
Right.
And I am working with legal on ways to strengthen our status letters that would suggest, like, we don't allow that. I think it's perfectly fair of them to ask, but they definitely do not want to cause animosity with the council, with the advisory group, with other grantees to continue to request special treatment, and they will take in stride a decision to rescind or cancel the award and reapply. They understand that this is not a unique situation, that everyone is facing these similar funding issues right now. So yeah, my recommendation is to rescind the award too.
Yeah, is this a good opportunity though to maybe start, creating some policy or process for what to do when this happens in the future? Like, if it's like, is it just like across the board, there's no potential for reallocation, or is it like up to a certain amount can be reallocated? Or I don't know what the answer to that is, but it seems like it'd be worth having a discussion to put us in a position next time it happens to be like, oh, well, we actually have a process for that. So
yeah, so like I said, I'm working with legal on revising the status letter that would address this. And so part of it is this required a matching award. And so something that was brainstormed with legal is that in the status letters, for awards that require a financial match is that they have to have that match by the next RFA cycle within 1 year, whichever comes first. Otherwise, they forfeit the award. So that's one set of language. And then I'm working on another set of language that would say, like, if you cannot carry out the project as described in application materials, then like you have to forfeit the award. You can't create a new scope of work. You can have budget modifications. You can have like minor adjustments. Hopefully too, with transitioning to a consistent cadence of award cycling and contracting, that we wouldn't have like big gaps between review and contracting that we have had. So like Sean said, I am working on revising the status letter to kind of address this. And then the conversation of what is a budget amendment versus a new award. Definitely, if it requires a new scope of work, that would be a new award, but can you have a budget increase? The council before I joined did allow the creation of new line items, but there was never a cap. I can't see the council putting a cap on what a budget amendment is, only because we want people to ask for what they need. We don't want to try to put a Band-Aid on situations that need stitches. But that is a question that needs to get answered. So, upcoming agenda, draft August 24th agenda, locating a meeting materials packet. We will be discussing the renewal applications. We have our next advisory committee on September 3rd. September 14th, I'm going to be at the UNO conference in Texas. This is the first day of the conference, so when I looked at the schedule, it looks like I will be able to be there and facilitate the meeting, but I will work with Omni to jump in last minute if needed. Originally, I had proposed if they wanted to cancel it, but there are some important conversations that need to happen in this meeting. And so this is it. So we'll talk about the state opioid conference, kind of how much we want to support for this, how many people, if at all, if it's a dollar amount, update these budgets with the group. I'll probably end up taking Recovery Works off based on the discussion today. I'm sure the executive committee will follow your lead on that, so that agenda item will come off. The whole council has to vote on this. This will just be an update. The executive committee can approve that. I will have the worksheets for the August 24th meeting. And then there is an RFI open right now. Please, everybody fill that out. It's a request for information. It is on our website. The council is trying to understand the impact of funding delays. So right here, this will be used in our strategic planning at the summit. Do we want to change our strategic plan? Do we want to, I just have this feeling that the scholarship funding is going to be a hot topic and we need to find some regulatory oversight for it, because it's going to happen. So if everyone could please complete this RFI, share it with your networks, that would be appreciated. We probably won't talk about that at the August 24th meeting because I don't have any responses yet. You will have to create a free UNA account. You can save your answers, come back to them later. You can download it, the prompts as a PDF, so you can pass it around internally and just have one person submit the answers. And then the Omni has a community survey out. Right here. Takes about 15 minutes to complete. that will also be used at the summit in October. Final questions, comments, concerns, thoughts?
Dr. Chelsea, I had a question. I was in
Yeah.
another RORAC meeting recently, and it seemed to be like alluding to amendments to the contract between the AG's office and regional councils. So is that something forecasted or ahead, or?
I have not heard anything about that.
Okay. Okay. It was very like talking, yeah, pretty coded of what they're trying to actually say. And Jack from the COAC was on the call. So I was just curious. It kind
I
of left me
know
with
that
that feeling of like, is something happening here that I'm just not privy to know?
I know that there is at least one ROAC that does want to change the IGA. That would take every ROAC getting on board. And I think their reasonings for wanting to change the IGA are dumb. And I think that's really just like a personal issue that they should problem solve. I know that there's like another ROAC where the county as fiscal agent had changed their insurance provider, and their new insurance provider is requiring like outrageous insurance coverage that none of the opioid grantees can afford. And then it's also affecting a lot of the grantees in the public health department. And so their legal team wanted to switch to grant agreements, which is basically just a contract that can't get redlined. It honestly doesn't, I don't think it solves the problem in the way the lawyers think it solves the problem. And so that is like causing tension in the IGA of like who gets to decide that. Can the commissioners of the fiscal agent basically grant exceptions? And they can. So I think they have a workaround without revising the IGA. I know there's another ROAC of multiple counties that can't seem to agree. And so they want to disband. Yeah, the decision was that they would just split the funds down the middle, and they would each county can regulate it, but that one county is still the fiscal agent. So I don't know if that's like still causing problems. But to my knowledge, people can talk about revising the IGA, and it's not at a point of conversation to happen in the near future.
Okay, so it sounds like it's more initiated from the RORAC instead of the other direction. I just wasn't sure if there was sort of this expectation or blanketed change that was to affect all regional councils.
No,
Okay.
and I attended the regional opioid learning forum yesterday, and there was no conversation of that. They are talking about like strategic plan compliance monitoring. I was involved in early stages of that. I think the plan is great. I think there's kind of like a pilot baseline year with this collaborative iterative process to improve what the benchmarks are. Not like you get an instant write-up. You get a lot of capacity building before they consider you as being non-compliant. It's more just like progress tracking, which is in the IGA that they need to be doing. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, I will give you 9 minutes back of your time. Thank you all so much. Oh wait, I do have a question. So the DOAC Region 11, that's Denver, they pay their advisory committee members. I know this is kind of like conflict of interest, but like, how do you guys feel about that? Is there any interest in providing compensation for advisory group or community reviewers?
I think I would have to opt out. I think legally, yeah, like there'd be a compliance issue that would be more complicated than it's worth. So, I mean, it can be off. I don't want to speak for the whole group, but for me, if it was offered, I would opt out.
I
I
also think there's
personally,
conflict.
yeah, and I just feel like these dollars should go not to say that we don't have an impact in helping people, but if that money could go, to a scholarship or to, creating infrastructure for more people to get help, even though it's just like a small drop in the bucket, I think that would be my preference.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways I would have to like work this out of like tracking people who attend the meetings. Do we pay you monthly? Is it even worth it to cut you a check for $50? Versus like, okay, if you made it all 12 meetings at the end of the year, maybe like doing something nice. How do I track that? Who is all these conflicts of interest? Yeah, there was a lot of questions I had, but I wanted to ask. I wanted to say that it was on my mind. It sounds like this group likes the current format. And I just sincerely, on behalf of the council, I know everyone appreciates your service. This is completely free, it's your time. But you are the most valuable voices to GROC. So thank you so much.
Thank you to Dr. Chelsea for that feedback. I recently saw an organization that offered a donation on your behalf. Like you could select a nonprofit. So like that was their contribution in their way to recognize your time. So I thought that was kind of clever because again, for this oftentimes situation where it actually causes more complication, although if there's a community member and they have lived experience and they're not on payroll and they're not, scoped to do this kind of stuff, then I can totally appreciate and see where that kind of compensation is welcomed and valuable. But just putting it out there that I saw recently to complete a survey, because sometimes they'll say like enter to win a gift card in a lotto kind of system, and even that gets complicated because then that's a monetary value that goes to you. But it was just choose your nonprofit that you would want there to be a $10 donation made towards or whatever. I thought that was nice.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, so if this group wants to brainstorm ways that they would feel appreciated, seen, heard, valued, please let me know. We are open to that as a council.
I'm here for the perks, so if there's like any cool shirts or hats, I wouldn't
Yes,
turn those down.
you get a tote. You are gonna get a tote at this summit for sure. Thank you. And probably a shout out. All right, everyone, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your